In Morisset and another neighbouring parish, Toronto, the leadership is not a parish priest. It's Toronto, a single layman, and Morisset, a lay team, of which John and Uta are members. It's not based on, like a second best, absolutely not. It's based on canon law, Canon 517, Section 2. It's based on the fact if there is a shortage of priests, then the bishop may appoint a deacon or a single religious or layperson or a team of people, with the provision that a priest be appointed with the rights and faculties of a parish priest, but not the duties. The duties are given to the lay leaders, who will, in Latin term, moderator, actionem, pastoralem, will moderate the pastoral action. Moderare was a Latin verb, and it doesn't mean to direct. That's what some of the authors I read. It's more like mentor, supervise, oversee. So that's the way we've worked at Morisset in Toronto since I was asked by Bishop Wright to be part of that, and I think it's worked very well, and leadership at both parishes has been excellent. I think it's very hard for lots of priests to get their head around this model. Like for yonks and yonks, parishes have been led by priests, and I know a lot of priests that don't understand what we're doing, or if they do understand, some of them think, well, I'm just like a parish priest, which I'm not, but they think, or they'd say, I could never do that because, I'm used to being a parish priest. So I think one of the things I'd like to see, I don't know how to do it, is to get more understanding among the clergy. Maybe what you're kind of put in the bridge will help, that it is a viable model. It's not just a second-rate thing. It's a powerful model, I think. And when there is, basically a shortage of priests, I suppose if you had active parish priests, the bishop is going to use them, but they haven't, and so that's, I think, one of my priorities, but I've got no idea how to do it, is how to, inform, encourage other priests to look at and understand the model. But not only that, like the diocesan officers, they don't get it either. They're used to, they keep calling me the parish priest, or send me, I've got to say, look, I'm not, see John and Uta, so I don't know how you get it across to a lot of lay people who are working in chantries, and who, they've only got in their head one old model, Anyway, that's a priority for me. I don't know how to do it.
We plan to revisit each year, once a year on the Feast of Pentecost. We used to have, up until COVID, a parish gathering where we reviewed the previous year and planned for the coming year. When COVID came along, we haven't had an assembly or gathering for 2 years now. So we're looking towards next year. Hopefully we can regather, regroup, refocus, look at how the parish really wants to move forward, and we will be offering our experience as a guide, I guess. We're more experienced now than when we first arrived, even though we'd been around church for a long time. You learn as you go, and often, and COVID has thrown up some curly ones. Hopefully a lot of it's behind us now.
Well, pre-COVID, with a bigger team, we each took one of our foundations. That's part of our diocesan pastoral plan. The 5 foundations of them are community and identity and community, prayer and worship, formation, mission and outreach, and leadership and structure. And each one of those had their own leader. And because I'm a bit of a liturgy nut, I was on prayer and worship. So that meant I had a full day in the office each week, and the rest of the time was spent preparing, researching, all that sort of stuff. But it still meant I had time to do my own bits. When COVID hit, it became extremely difficult from my point of view, in that we were locked down. And we had to find creative ways of not only contacting people, but getting people together. And we'll talk about that later. It does take time. When you've got more people, it spreads the load a bit. That's why I think a team is the better idea, and I'm hoping and praying we'll get some more fresh blood coming in.
Well, the other thing was that we said when we had the leadership team that there'd be someone on the end of the phone 24/7, and that has been happening, and it still is happening. So that if anybody rings for whatever reason, they're not getting your call is important to us, please take a number and stand in line. No, there's always somebody, a person at the end of the phone and we've been able to honour that commitment. So I think that's been very, very helpful for people that have called in. I think it's a very pastoral, in my eyes, issue that needs to be addressed, because often I've phoned churches or presbyteries or wherever, all it gets an answering machine. You might get a return call, you might not, that sort of thing. I'm being rather critical, but that was one of the things as a team we said that will not happen here. And I'm proud to say that that hasn't happened here in our parish. It is a challenge, especially at this particular time, in so much as we haven't gathered face to face as a community for a couple of years, and the challenge moving forward is we've got to get Christmas behind us and then let the dust settle when school goes back, and then we'll have to find an appropriate time to regather as a community and look at what has been happening, how do we want to continue to move forward, looking for new membership, because one of the disturbing, I guess, and challenging point is that a lot of the people that would be in a good age for leadership roles, they've walked away from the church as a whole, not actually our parish, but just walked away from the church. So the interesting point that we have with our school, St John Vianney school, Catholic school, but I think we have about 60% of them as non-Catholic, and the other 40%, they're nominally Catholic, I guess. Try to how we can outreach to the schools, because the schools have been a no-go area pretty much for the last 2 years. We haven't been able to engage, so I'm sort of looking at, that's going to be a real challenge in 2022. It's a real challenge. We have to really look at what do we want from a parish, as a parish. How do we move forward? Can we sustain this particular model? Is it time for us to step down, to let some younger people on? Do you want us to hang around a little bit longer for that continuity, to pass the baton on? All those sorts of challenges. That's the challenges I see. I think there's a great potential there that we have the ability to really establish churches to what we are called to be as a church, and it's not just a hierarchical model of church. We're all in it together. We all have our roles to play. And I think there's a great opportunity, whereas we can really, if you really want to be really engaged and grow into something that we are called to be as a church.
I think, leaving aside the COVID issue, which has been a great challenge, as John and Uta pointing out, I think I agree that the abuse, clergy and religious abuse issue has had a big effect. But I also, with my background in science, I don't think the church has adapted well enough to modern scientific approaches to things and to the scientific way of thinking. And so I think that's an issue, and I don't see it being addressed very well, basically. I mean, there are, the influence of scientists like Teilhard de Chardin and people like that, but it's rather limited, the number of people who work on things like evolution and consciousness raising and all those issues, and I think they're very significant. I do think a lot of the young generation, but not only the younger generation, leaving aside the abuse issue, just in a modern secular age, they haven't got a great connection with God. Some of them not sure. Geoff, I don't know whether there's a God. I don't know whether I live on after death. I hope I can, but I'm not sure. I think in the modern secular age, there's been this move away from the traditional religious approach. And unfortunately, I don't think the church on the whole, has adapted well enough to what I think are necessary changes for all those sorts of reasons. And so unless we change, unless the plenary council works, I don't see a very strong future. There'll always be someone around, but but most parishes where I go, they're mainly older people, the younger generation, for the reasons I've given and other reasons. I don't find it very helpful. But they're challenges. Potential, I think, having lay leaders working with a priest who is happy to do that, and working with another priest in the model too, called a sacramental priest, who helps out with sacraments and things. But the main leadership is by people like John and Uta and the team. But we do work collaboratively in the way we've said, and I think there's great potential in that. And I think it's got a chance of moving away from a more hierarchical, clerical model that I think, in a way, has to change, or I don't see a future. A priest or a bishop making all the big decisions. And I mean, the number of people I know who tried to convince a parish priest or a bishop to do something, told them to get lost, more or less. They exactly did what they did. They get lost and they've walked away. So that's a bit sad. So, but that's a challenge to potential, though, is there are good people sitting out there if we can find the right approach.
But I think our challenge is to find the new families and engage them. And I think in our model, the beauty of it is that we can look laterally. I've got a good formation team, and Alive in the Spirit was an absolute godsend, because I got them each a login for all the workshops. And I asked them to prayerfully put aside what we've been doing because it's not working, and to engage with those workshops and have a look. And then we got together and talked. And those people came back fired up with what they'd heard. So I think our opportunity is that we can, because we're a leadership team with Fr Geoff and now Fr John, who's our new sacramental priest, he's open to it. We work at engaging the whole family, not just the children coming to be done. It's a part of us helping the family educate their children in the faith. But that includes becoming a part of the community and getting to know the community and being supported by it. If we don't involve our community, we may as well stop. Our diocese asked us last year to have a fallow year, to evaluate what we have been doing, to look if it works. If it's not working, what can we do? And we took up that challenge. It took a while, but we got there. I think my energy is going into that. And with Fr John, hopefully, we can have masses that engage the kids and their families. We can have At the moment, we can't have get-togethers afterwards where we discuss what they've seen and done and where they're up to. All of those things that engage them and make them want to come back. It may be pie in the sky, but if we don't try it, we'll never know. So that's a challenge, but it's also a huge opportunity, because now's the time to try things differently.